Skechcraft is recorded in front of a live internet audience and supported by listeners like you. Please be sure to leave a review on iTunes, like and share our Facebook page, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. All links can be found at sketchcraft.com. That's Sketchcraft, C-R-A-F-T, the name of the podcast.com. Remember, every little bit counts and it all helps to grow the show. Thanks. Welcome to Sketchcraft, the podcast for art, games, and process junkies. I'm Rob Duenas, full-time illustrator and graphic artist Esquire. This is an unedited podcast, which will probably contain strong language, so listener discretion is advised.
Hello everybody, Rob D here. If you're just tuning in to Sketchcraft for the very first time, you should know that we typically rant about art, movie, and geek-related news stuffs chosen by either us or you, the audience. Joining me today, breathing heavily into his mic, is Arizona's very own Brandon James from leadheavy.com and freelance graphic artist. Say hi, Brandon.
Hello.
You just out of breath there? Let me take a deep one for you.
I'm a little overweight, I guess. So I'm just letting the audience know. So I'm painting the picture for them.
That's my canvas. It's called Type 2 Diabetes. I don't mean to pick, but I am. So let's move forward. Brandon, we have reached the 50th episode of Sketchcraft.
Woohoo!
Technically the 72nd or 82nd, really, if you count all the tutorial casts I used to do and the game caves. But for Sketchcraft proper, it's 50. I know, right? Took a step back, but whatever. It's the official episode 50 of Sketchcraft. If you all haven't noticed, I actually went through and renamed all the episodes by episode now. I kept changing the name of the podcast for the last 4 years. So we're just going to take a step back, talk about some reader feedback, and then maybe mention some episodes of Sketchcraft that I dug, and talk about some geek stuff right now. I'm in the middle of a bunch of work stuff, and I'm just not in the mood to get into too much conversation about work right now. So let's move on to some feedback. Let me open up the Facebook. Insert Sean Connery song. Don't do it. Don't do it, Brandon.
It could be a hit.
No.
Everybody will be doing the Sean Connery.
No. No one knows what we are talking about, including me. Like, even I'm not all that up. I hate when Facebook decides to take its sweet fucking time. Come on, Facebook. All I want to do is click on the main page, and it just wants to do that spinning thing. It's like Facebook runs on... okay, hold on. Didn't even have a chance to finish that. Okay, so Johnny Cook, who, by the way... Well, I'll get into this. Johnny Cook brings up on my Facebook, just wanted to let you know that I got asked again about art school while at the Calgary Expo. Put in my 2 cents on how it's not necessary, and then referred him to listen to your podcast, episode 25 things I wish I taught in art school, before making his decision. My artist alley neighbor chimed in and said that going was the stupidest thing he did, as he dropped out pretty early and still owes around $36,000. They have significantly increased the amount of tuition at these schools, if you weren't aware. Thanks for the resource, and thanks for liking my profile pic. The watering coloring process is very relaxing for me, as once I'm in the zone, it almost seems to take care of itself. Johnny does a lot of saucy style stuff. It's pretty flattering, actually.
Nice.
Yeah, he's got his own little version of it, but it's pretty cool, actually, all things considered. It's kind of nifty when you invent a look, you know?
Right.
It's a little flattering, so it's really nice of him to share. But, do you have anything to add on that?
No.
No, of course
not really. Yeah,
so...
I mean, it's. I mean,
just apply no, add nothing, Brandon.
0. I bring nothing to the table.
Okay. Excellent. So that's nice. Yay. If you haven't checked out 25 Things I Wish I Taught in Art School episode, I don't remember the number, please dig that one up. It's pretty good time. So let me just go through. That was good feedback. And then we got some other feedback. We don't really have a lot of. We did have one question. And this one I want to bring up. This was off DeviantArt. Oh, I like it when I go to click on my messages and it brings up the gallery. That's the best. So, Hello Gazer is a continued listener to the cast. And he talks about last episode. He said, episode, never draw for free. He's like, yeah, that was a spur of the moment question. Oh, that was me. Hold on, that was my reply. It's my reply.
You're on point.
Just try to click original. Okay. 4 years of Sketchcraft for the win. That's what he says. I expected the discussion about never draw for free to be more extensive. The advice about the pizza is good. Ha ha ha, nonetheless. The one thing I take away from your discussions about artists being writers and artists being drawing different styles is that everyone seems to hate you if you can do more than one thing. Which is a shame, really. But I'm very much looking forward to seeing more original stories from you. He's like, he also mentioned, I remember that Sean Murphy wrote a journal a while ago where he actually recommended that artists should at least try writing their own stories. One of the reasons being that you actually have full control, as well as full understanding of the vision, quote unquote, you're trying to put down on paper. Another reason, which coincides with what you said, is that a lot of comics are not very well written to begin with, so it's not that hard to write something that is at least on an average level for the comic book industry. By the way, are you looking forward to the new Godzilla movie? I feel that after Pacific Rim, it would be time for a monster movie that is actually good. It's only been a year. It's only been, right? It came out last summer.
Geeks move fast, man. They blog about it, they rant about it, we talk about it, and then
we have a whole podcast called Pacific Rim Jai. It was the best.
Yeah, and then they move on. They're ready for more.
Yeah. So I didn't reply to that. And I said, could you elaborate a little bit more if you like about the never draw for free? And then I'll talk about the writing stuff. He says, I was looking forward to your personal experiences when you work for free or refuse to do so. Or possibly examples when you feel it's acceptable to work for free because you might gain something other than money from it. You briefly mentioned hoping for a business connection that ultimately didn't work out. Anthology books come to mind right now, like the fan books Udon has put together for Mega Man, Darkstalkers, and Warcraft. And I remember from another podcast that Udon asked you to contribute to those. Are those valid ways to expose yourself? Artistically. And then also is writing, is that referring to scripts? Okay. So, yeah, it's valid. Udon hit me up when I was in the middle of drawing Game Fan, and I just couldn't stop what I was doing to go draw something for free for Udon, you know?
Right.
The whole notion was that, hey, we'll get you a free book, and you'll be in our collection, and it'll be awesome forever. And that's pretty cool, you know? Like, if I had had the free time, it would have been cool to send them something. But I was in, like, I'm trying to make these magazines to, like, pay my rent, and they're not even, you know, like I just,
right.
I mean, I probably should have because I would have at least got a book out of it since I got nothing out of Game Fan, but it's a lesson to learn. Can you work for free to gain some kind of exposure? Sure, just know into it that you're not getting anything. I think my deal is that for me, that to draw at this point, what could I do that's going to make any difference? Like, I didn't have a whole lot of aspirations in comic books to begin with. I never was like, I can't wait. Someday maybe I'll draw for DC. I never cared. Matter of fact, I didn't know really what I was going to do. You know, I figured I'd have a normal job and I would go and do comics on the side and build worlds that I like. You know, that's why I pitched comics to Image when I started, rather than trying to get a job drawing somewhere. You know.
Right.
But then people fail and don't turn stuff in and so forth and so forth. I think for me, right now, you know, you just put yourself in one of two camps. And then, Brandon, you got a third camp that you didn't bring up last time. One, if someone is on like an anthology book like Flight, and you want to get in there and you have something, it's definitely not going to be paid for, but, you know, puts you in the published category and that makes you feel like a winner and you're happy with it, then totally do it. Don't feel pressure to do it. Chances are, 99.9% of the time, it's not going to change your life. But if it's something that makes you feel better about yourself and it's motivating and it's positive, then yeah, definitely do it. If it's a publisher who just literally is like, hey, well, you want to draw a cover, I'm not going to pay you. I personally wouldn't do it because I know I perform at a level that I should be paid for. You know what I mean, Brandon? Like,
right.
I'm not. I can do this better than most of those people you're hiring right now.
There's a reason they came to you and they asked you. It's not because they knew you'd be free. They knew you were talented.
Right. So they're not giving me a shot. So that's my stance on it. The third stance is something Brandon failed to mention last time that I was able to cull from our conversations about that episode, was that the person in question he was talking about was signed up for a job, felt guilty, decided to help out for free to sort of like help out, and then the project ballooned to a crazy thing that wasn't the initial situation. Now they feel trapped and they're not getting paid. Is that more accurate?
Right, yeah. They thought they signed up to do one free thing, and then they try to make it, 100 free things. They try to, well, now that you're doing one, you can do the rest.
So this can happen in two ways. One, you can agree to draw, hey, I'll submit 6 pages for flight, and now they want you to draw the whole book, which wouldn't happen, but there's an example. Another example, and I've had this happen to me, where you get paid to do a logo, or you agree to do a logo, and then for the next 2 years you're getting tweaks and they need a file, and can you just adjust this one thing, and that's
Yeah.
you're on retainer.
It's a never-ending thing. That happened to me too, where they'll see something when they're out, walking the streets, and they're like, "Wow, that would be great for my brand." And then they email you, "Can you just tweak this one thing?" Sure. Let me spend hours tweaking something that's not going to make a difference.
Well, I brought it up on the cast before, where speaking of, I just got a note asking to submit stuff. This is funny. So I had a job, I mentioned this before, a freelance gig, where the guy wanted a logo, and I gave him 8 options, 12 actually. I had an initial 8 that I sort of concepted quickly from some base fonts, and then kind of sketched around really quick, and there were things that I use that no one else uses. And then at the very end, I was working with Josh on this. I said, hey, I'm gonna throw in this font called Abaddon because everyone likes it. I can't fucking stand it, but as a t-shirt guy, it's just a font that people use, So I'm just gonna put that one in because they're these kinds of people, I think. And that's the one they picked. I sent them like 12 concepts. They picked the one. I'm like, And so I'm like, okay, I used it. I tweaked the shit out of it. I didn't just type a font and charge them money,
Right.
Um, almost 2 years later, they're like, the font you used for my logo is this font, and it wasn't a bad, and it was the font knockoff, right? So it's this font, which he's incorrect on. You didn't give me an original font. I want my money back. I'm like, first off, I never agreed to design an original font. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Carl's Jr. Quiznos, they use Hardy, you know what I mean? These are all linotype fonts. Like, are you crazy? Maleficent isn't Abaddon. Go look at the fucking font. Second of all, you didn't even name the right font, dumbass. Third of all, you picked it, stupid. You know what I mean? Like, I gave you 12 ideas.
Right.
And then it isn't the font. You show me how you can type your logo with that font and arrive at the result I turned in. Because it doesn't exist. It's modified at least 50%. At least. Because I'm not lazy, But yeah, what he really wanted me to do was just design him a new logo for free 2 years later because they're cheap fucking bastards. So at that point, if you're in a never-ending cycle of updates, you got to cut people off and just take it and take the hate. That's my solemn advice to anybody. It's not you. Don't feel bad. Try to sleep better at night. Drink a glass of wine if you can drink. If you're underage, fucking play some Titanfall and Monster. What do you drink? Red Bull?
Yep.
Yeah, drink Red Bull and Titanfall and call it a night because
Red Bull till your heart explodes.
Yeah, or until you breathe like this on a podcast. I mean, it's almost like Gold does sometimes, when you you didn't know because you didn't watch WWF. But anyhow, so yeah, there are ways you can, obviously, if you want to get exposure. For me, I've just found that it's never made any difference in my life. All the exposure in the world is nifty. The only thing it's ever done for me was one time I was in a bookstore and my buddy was trying to tell me how the world worked according to an art. And this is a guy who doesn't do anything, by the way. And he's like, Rob, it's, the reason why it hasn't worked out for you is because this and that. I said, no, you know what the reason why is? And I walked to a shelf, pulled down a book, opened it, and it had my art in there. I'm like, it's because I'm in the middle of some fucking book that doesn't have my name on the cover. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm buried right here, and he just looked at me. I'm like, you aren't in this store, are you? No one knows I'm in this store. Fuck, I wouldn't know, but I know this book. So he just, but that's me right there, you know. And I submitted it for free to get in the book. And I'm telling you right now, I made whole magazines and it hadn't changed my life. So just do what's going to make you feel good. Don't do it because you think it's going to improve your life or network somehow because you really don't control if people will ever talk to you again. Really at the end of the day,
Right.
you know? That's my last advice on the subject. I didn't mean to like breeze through it last time, but it was more of a spur of the moment question. So we rambled on about that for about 14 minutes. And then quickly I want to say about writing on my own. Yeah, I'm not writing a comic book though. I'm writing a light novel slash game magazine. So a little bit different. There are pictures, but it's mostly words, you know? Like I think I worked it out to like there's probably like 8 pages of pictures, not including the game magazine stuff, you know, or the pinups in the game section. But actual like 8 pinups, and maybe I devoted a couple pages to like I could cut it up and do a couple panel shots here or there or something, you know? And if I have any more time or room, fine, but I think it's somewhere between 8 and 10 pages. And then it's like 50 pages of writing and 50 pages of video game magazine and some minor retro pages. But I'm not writing a comic book. Comic books, they're written pretty. I guess unless you're Alan Moore, they're written all pretty much the same. Panel one, do this. Panel two, do that. Panel four, do this. Widescreen, widescreen, widescreen panel. Comics aren't really written according to strand. I imagine someone somewhere writes down a structure, but more often than not, from the scripts I've read, it feels more like they just write stuff happens in a box and then we'll get to it the next issue. You know? Like they're
Right.
not very planned out very well from structural standpoints. So, and I know this because I was telling Brandon, um, and I said this before in the thing in the response that the books that I had written, the feedback I'd gotten back was nice art. Well, the first feedback I got was the art sucked because I rushed it, you know? And I took that advice and that hit in the chin. And then the art looked really good. It's a shame the writing sort of juvenile, you know? And I said, well, I can achieve that. You know, like I can achieve juvenile, right? If I'm gonna get that hit, at least I could achieve that, and maybe if I get better, do something about it because I'm consciously trying to improve it. You know,
Right.
versus just cranking shit out because I'm a writer and that's just what gets done. I don't know. Like I'm just not considering myself a writer at this point by any measure, if I ever will. It's just really I just got stories and I'm using the words because I'm not going to spend 3 years drawing everything out.
You're a storyteller.
Fucking whatever, man. I don't give a shit. I honestly, honest to goodness, I just don't. I just don't have it in me to sit and draw every panel for the next 3 years for you to read it in 2 seconds. You know.
Right.
So if I really do want stories to tell, and I do have stories I want to tell. I don't know if anyone wants to read them. I can use the art to give me a leverage where other writers can't. Is basically what I'm trying to say. You know.
Hmm.
So I could throw in 10 or 20 pinups, whatever. It took me a fucking year to do, whatever. I could throw that in there, and that still gives me a leg over other people, or even just digipaints. Those digipaints, you know, I could just do here's something, boom, 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 you know, and here's a nifty character posing, and fill stuff in. So, but drawing comics, I mean, I don't know, man. It's not my thing. So, okay, Brandon, go ahead and pick a topic. We can move on.
Justice League will be directed by Zack Snyder at the same time as Batman and Superman movie.
Well, they said
And
back to back, right?
yeah.
So we don't know if they're filming it simultaneously or if they're just extending out the
Right.
production. Like Back to the Future 2 and 3 kind of just went long. You know, like they didn't.
Right. But
How,
that's exciting.
I was gonna say,
I,
how do you feel about that, Brandon?
I'm excited. I like Zack Snyder. A lot of people hate on him, but I like the look of his movies. I like I like all the detail. I mean, it's badass. Like in Watchmen, like we've talked about this before. The scene where Silk Spectra drops into the prison to kick ass. That's probably one of my favorite comic book scenes in a movie ever. Just badass all in one. He just captures it perfectly. So I'm excited. I think it's gonna be great. But I'm sure there's gonna be tons of people hating on him like they did for the Man of Steel.
Well, Superman's tough. You know, we've gotten to that discussion before. Everyone has an idea what Superman is. It's like Captain America. I was like, Captain America's a soldier. He uses guns. Captain America doesn't use guns. He uses them in the Marvel movie. It's okay. Uh, use them in the comic. Nonsense. And now it's in reverse. Superman can kill in the comics. That's okay. Superman can't kill in the movies though. Apparently, there's a perception over what Superman does or doesn't do. So that's an issue. I also think that Man of Steel seemed to be like two visions, right? Colliding almost simultaneously. Sort of the Chris Nolan vision of grounded, real world thing, and then Zack Snyder's comic book,
Right.
ness. And I don't think it blended as well or as harmonious. I think the discontent is because it doesn't blend as harmoniously as they would like. And I believe we're going more towards the Watchmen, with Batman versus Superman than the Dark Knight,
Right.
which I'm all for. I actually like Watchmen. I mean, Sucker Punch is not my most favorite script because of its cleverness by any measure whatsoever. It's really a nice long music video.
That's that's what I was gonna say. It's just a long rock video. That's all it is. It's pretty to look at.
But if was something that had come out in the 80s, like the Heavy Metal the movie, we all been like, "Oh, have you seen this?" It would have been like a cult favorite that got passed around
Right.
VHS tapes. But in the disillusioned world of comic book geekness, it's the worst thing that ever was put to cinema. And yet it wasn't an adaptation. It was really strange. I remember when Sucker Punch was coming out, Inception was coming out too. Hadn't come out yet. And every time they covered a trailer for Inception on the Slash Film cast over at slashfilm.com, I like the cast. They would talk about Inception. Goes, it's just for a dream world, there isn't a lot of fantastic, dreamy things happen. Yet the trailer for Sucker Punch, you see this crazy dream world universe. It's amazing. And then after Inception comes out, and Sucker Punch comes out, they're like, Sucker Punch just does all this crazy stuff, and it's not grounded like Inception. And I'm just like, wow, I mean, those are all valid points, but it's funny how it just switched,
Yeah, it just sways one way or the other.
Yeah, for no reason whatsoever. I mean, the fact is, I'm looking forward to what Zack Snyder's making. I'm more looking forward to the fact that he's got the cinematographer from Watchmen has come back. He wasn't on. What's his name?
So, back to Zack Snyder. I like that they're giving him 2 movies to go off of. So it'll be, in a sense, one person's vision carried over, and it'll feel more unison to me than, okay, Zack Snyder gets this movie and another guy gets this movie. I like that they're just trusting him to basically start the franchise.
And that's the exact negative feedback people have been making. It's one guy running the franchise. It seems to me that he and Goyer or whatever have the vision and not the producers. It seems to me that the producers at Warner Brothers are now stepping away, probably after the fiasco of Green Lantern, which if you look has about 13 producers in its credits. I don't know if anyone's taking a look at that. And they're sort of leaving it to the director, writers, you know what I mean, to sort of like piece this together.
Right.
Or sort of put it together. Whereas Marvel is led by Kevin Feige, right? The head guy at Marvel Films. And then they sort of like have like a brain trust and then dole out the pieces to various.
Right. And then they give, I think with Marvel it's great because it seems like they give the directors and them more freedom. Like, Joss Whedon, okay, here's Avengers. Make it your Avengers with all the, the little jokes and the humor and the things he does. And then now with these guys who did Captain America, they got signed on for more movies. They like what they saw and they're just letting them continue on with what they're doing. So I like it.
Yeah, my only fear about all this is, and we'll get to this in a second, my only concern is I believe you need to allow some breathing room in a movie. And if you look at what they've done with Spider-Man, where the movies are so compact with exposition and tons of villains and shit now, that there's just no. I'm not saying you need 7 movies worth of space to make it feel natural, but I like a rhythmic, musical tone to the flow of a film for me. Like if I can leave a film on itself and it just flows seamlessly, not blaring crap trying to fucking freak me out all the time, but it just flows. That's what I hope. Man of Steel does a pretty good job of that overall. It's not perfect, but it does a pretty good job of it. I just hope that they don't pack it with a bunch of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, oh, and Wonder Woman. Like, I hope these characters already are who they are supposed to be, rather than Wonder Woman is a daring duo chick who arrives on the shores of something, and they're trying to cram backstories in while they're.
Right.
Am I making sense to you?
Yeah, just it's basically started off like we already have these characters established. We don't need more origins and more origins. It's kind of like with Spider-Man, the newer one. Okay, the first movie, his parents were secret laboratory scientist people, and then now this new movie, they're still secret scientist laboratory people, and you got to discover the truth about them and fight your best friend from back when you're in grade school, and then the Rhino, and then the Goblin.
Well, I don't think they're going that route, simply because Batman is older in this one and was around. I mean,
Right.
and this is the guy who made Watchmen, so he doesn't have a problem seeing, starting superheroes in the middle of, actually at the end of their lifespan, rather than, at the origin and inception
Right.
of it. And he's willing to show the origin as more of a few minutes of musical snippet than try to get heavy-handed. You know what I mean? Like, people bitch about the Watchmen so much, but I'm like, how would you do it? Why
Right.
wouldn't you? It's not a movie. I'm like, now you're talking nonsense. Someone was going to make that into a movie. He even said it. Look, Warner's was going to make it no matter what. And I had been going to, I've talked about this before, I had been going to the ArcLight, and for years up in LA, this movie theater up in LA, and afterward they'll bring in, screenwriters and stuff to do Q&A because they're in Hollywood. And I went to go see a screen of X-Men 1 right before X-Men 2 came out. And David Hayter, the screenwriter on X-Men and the voice of Solid Snake, was trying to get Watchmen made. He wrote the original big screenplay that was getting it put around. And so this is 2003, He was trying to get the movie made. And it almost went to Paul Greengrass, and then that fell through for whatever reason. And then Snyder picked it up and ran with it. So I'm just like, someone was going to make The Watchmen. The Watchmen easily could have turned into League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Like it
Oh,
easily
that
could,
crap fest.
or Mystery Men, which is endearing on some level, in hindsight.
Right.
But let's be honest, no one ran to the theater to go see that.
Right.
So I believe that I'm with you. I just think that he'll start it in the middle, and all these characters already exist, and hopefully it'll work.
All right.
Hopefully.
Let's go to a little bit of props, I want to say, merchandising. They released the Spider-Man 2 DVD set, which is Electro's head and bust.
Well, they released a pre-order.
Pre-order, yes, the pre-order.
Before the movie came out, they had the option to pre-order the DVD or Blu-ray, and it's a giant blue head, right?
It is the creepiest looking Jamie Foxx I've ever seen. It's got, I'm guessing, realistic style head, and then his eyes are just painted on like a fucked up doll. It's bad.
Like a statue that you see, or in game. You watch Game of Thrones? Like
Nope.
when people die in Norse mythology and they paint stones with eyes on them and place them on their face. And you're like, yeah, that looks eyes wide open. It's I don't know who the hell would buy this other than look at that, like Peter Griffin, to creep your kid out or freak the dog.
Yeah, I put it in the bathroom or in the shower just so if someone goes in there, it freaks them out. But
And it doesn't glow too, which is a crying waste of shame, I think. Because wouldn't it be great if that thing glowed?
oh yeah, it just lights up randomly in your front room.
You could put it in the
just watch
fridge.
TV.
Ooh. Put it in the oven. Ooh,
Take it camping.
It'd be funny if it just made the THX logo noise every time. So yeah, it's probably the single worst piece of marketing. I mean, this all started with that Transformers case. Remember back in 2007?
Where was
Transformers?
Was it his chest that opened up?
It was his
Optimus?
face with a chesty thing that opened up. This is where it was just a case. Chest opens up. You can pull out the movie like you would the Unicron. Was it the Matrix? The Matrix, right? The chest fucking thing. So, and it's come all the way to a veiny blue replica of Jamie Foxx Veiny.
Yeah.
I like how they use those veins to give you the essence of electrical bolts.
Right.
You know,
His
and
head is throbbing.
this looks like a big blue.
He looks like a fucked up Megamind. Like if Megamind was a real person, that's how creepy it is. It's
like
just...
the musical, or you know when you go to Disneyland, they had the foam head dude that would walk around.
Yeah.
Or a really bad nemesis to Freakazoid. I don't know, man. That's a vague reference for most kids. So yeah, pre-order that. I dare you, and take pictures on Instagram.
Tag me or Rob.
I should put that on my monitor and photograph it with my creepy Woody doll. You know, like, hey, because they have kind of the same eyebrows. I'm gonna do that. Maybe I'll use that as the picture for today. But sometimes those pictures don't work for the podcast because they're so thin. You know,
Right.
like, so I'll try and see how that works.
Bum, 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 bum. Star Wars cast. Picture.
Oh, the cast of Star Wars Episode 7.
Wars, yes.
You just say stuff, you know, props.
I just shouted out.
Props.
Number 5.
I give you props. What? No, there's a prop. There's a... words fail me now.
So, on the internet, Rob, they released a picture of the Star Wars cast.
Are you, like, talking like the bouncing ball? Are you talking like the bouncing ball? I'm saying like a lot tonight. It's really frustrating me.
I guess it's better than breathing heavy.
It's because it's so hot. That's why. It's so hot I'm saying the word like too much. It's very hot in here. Yeah, you're talking like the... See, I did it. You're talking...
Star Wars cast.
Star Wars cast. The cast.
You saw the picture?
Yeah, I saw it.
Excited, yes?
Sure. I mean, look, I'm excited because Lawrence Kasdan is writing the script. And George Lucas is not involved.
For people who don't know, Lawrence Kasdan is
the screenwriter of Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, Raiders of the Lost Ark. He didn't have creative control on Jedi. The script he wrote was a bit different and a little bit more epic. So the ending was a little weird. But that being said, and he also directed one of my favorite films ever, The Big Chill. Recently his movie stuff wasn't so great, but I suppose you take, you know, whatever jobs you can get. That's like when people shit on Joe Johnston, and I'm like, Joe Johnston he directed The Rocketeer and October Sky. He can direct, you know. He's the guy who has to come in and fix problems, and he gets the shit end of the stick. But he directed Captain America just fine. So, I know you don't like it, so I don't give a shit. Captain America and the first Iron Man are still my favorite Marvel movies. So, anyhow, let's move on. I'm excited because Lawrence Kasdan is a guy who got Star Wars as more than a kid's thing when they went to do Empire.
Do you think, with him being obviously an older guy, do you think that his writing will hold up nowadays for how people see movies and how Man of Steel's grittier and how JJ did Star Trek? Like, do you think they'll go more towards like the Star Trek type of movie, or
there's going to be a sense of adventure and fun and a sense of danger, and I put it in the same league as, like, maybe it won't be in the same storytelling league as The Incredibles because Brad Bird is one of the most genius storytellers ever. But Incredibles is a movie I like to show people how, look, it's a CG film. You know they're not alive, and yet they can all die, even the little kid.
Right.
So that's what they'll bring. There is no element of danger to the prequels on any level whatsoever for anybody. You hope some people die. Just fucking kill them. You know, then the only person who dies that you're like, why, was Darth Maul. Like,
and he was badass.
Yeah, he's the only guy who did shit. He didn't waste a lot of time talking about it. No, Lawrence Kasdan can actually write. So I believe he's the reason why I'm the most excited. I'm definitely excited about JJ. I don't give a fuck what people say about Into Darkness. My problems with Into Darkness are just that it's not a bad movie. It's just people waited almost 5 years for a vague remake of Wrath of Khan, you know?
Right.
When they could have come up with any new story. Like, you can't remake the great films. Like, that's like remaking Raiders of the Lost Ark. Just make a new... If you're going to make a new Indiana Jones, just make a new Indiana Jones. Don't remake Raiders of the Lost Ark. Or vaguely tell it, but now it goes a little bit different. That's just a bad idea. Because you're never going to please anybody. You know, you're not going to please everybody. You're certainly just going to piss off the hardcores. It's just
when you touch on such iconic movies or characters and you're just changing little things, it's like, what's the point?
Yeah, and they
didn't you
wait
just...
so long to get a new movie, and it's a vague remake of something they already have that's brilliant. It's like they could, if that same script was just different characters or whatever, and maybe it was Gary Mitchell or some vague thing from the TV show, that got turned into a giant movie. So that's my thing. But I like JJ, so I think I'm really excited. I'm excited that the cast is pretty diverse. Like the lead guy they announced, the guy from Attack of the Block,
Hmm.
Boygan. I always have a hard time with names. John, I'll get the name. Uh,
But yeah, he was in Attack on the Block,
I love
the
that movie.
the British alien movie, and he's got a samurai sword, and
Yeah, that's and it's really like a gritty. Yeah, John Boyetta. He's really cool. So I'm excited about that. Max von Sydow's in here. Now that's interesting. So Max von Sydow has to be either a gritty old Imperial guy. If they do put Thrawn in the movie, he can play Thrawn, Admiral Thrawn. I mean, I know they said the EU won't happen, but he's someone who could do it, or he could just be, an evil Jedi dude. So I like the cast. I was really shocked Andy Serkis is in it. Thought that was pretty cool actually. So I'll be interested to see if he plays alien creature or a monkey or you know
right.
or God knows what. But the only thing I'm wondering is well, I mean, I just hope that I hope it goes well. You know what I mean? Because I'm really burnt the fuck out on Star Wars, and I just don't want to get my hopes up. You know.
Right.
So I'm open to what they're doing because, far as I'm concerned, you can't do worse.
Right.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, you can't do worse than Phantom Menace, or
Well, did you ever see the Clone Wars movie with
yeah,
the Hut with lipstick?
he was pretty.
You can do worse than Attack of the Clones with Phantom Menace. You
I don't want to see. I know there'll be parts for kids. I just don't want to see another Jar Jar Binks or little furry teddy bears beating soldiers with lasers with rocks and spears.
you're not gonna see that from J.J. Abrams.
That's what I'm saying. That's the only thing I hate when someone puts on Star Wars and I'm like, which one are you watching? And they're like, Return of the Jedi. I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah, as a
like,
kid, I just fast forward to the space battle.
right,
Luke fighting Vader. The second Luke turns himself into Vader is just when I would turn the movie on. And I like some of when Luke's like force choking dudes in Jabba's palace, but for the most
right,
part, Jedi was forgettable when I was a kid. When I was a mid teenager, I was like one of those guys when the special edition came out. People were like, "What's your favorite movie?" And I'm like, "It's gonna be Jedi because this is where this is the first time we see Anakin redeemed, and after we see the new movies, like it's gonna be great to see that." And I was like, I was one of those guys. And the
yeah,
reality is, I fucking hate Jedi. It just doesn't hold up. Could care less. Could just watch the first two, you know. Or even for me, I could just watch Empire, really. But I do like the first film. It's quite good. I just want a sense of energy. There's no energy to those prequels. And Jedi doesn't have a lot of energy too. Shockingly, they get to Endor and it's just like boom. We're gonna see for a planet where they run around on giant on speeder bikes. Things move pretty slow on Endor.
right.
Yeah, they're gonna eat us to death. We're just gonna sit here and get captured. And I don't know. Oh, they got us surrounded by spears. Like he has just force choke the fucking thing. I mean, Luke is grabbing guy. You know what I mean? Like when the Ewoks tie them up, I'm like, don't lift him up. Force choke the leader. Throw him into a wall. You're a Jedi. Jedi's are samurai. Samurai don't take this shit. They don't negotiate. Go watch a seven. I always said the Star Wars movies don't need more Joseph Campbell. They need more Akira Kurosawa. And Akira Kurosawa is the Japanese director. He directed a movie you may have heard called The Seven Samurai. It's been remade anytime a movie is about a team that has to get together to go fight the bandits or the bad guys to defend a town or something or a group, that's The Seven Samurai. He invented that. And he made a movie called The Hidden Fortress, which is what Star Wars is essentially a remake of, The Hidden Fortress. And so Jedi are samurai, and samurai are scary as fuck. You know,
Yeah.
samurai come in, people would just like, samurai pulls open a sword, people move out the way. Just like in the first time Obi-Wan busts out his lightsaber, you know, in the cantina, people are like,
Right.
no one opens a gun and starts shooting. They're just like, I'm not fucking, it's fucking Jedi.
They're just like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, you know, because he'd kill us all, you know. And he cuts off arms. He didn't nick him or, you know, to get him to forget to smoke death sticks or some bullshit. So I think JJ's willing to do that, you know, overall. Um, I'm hoping it's more Star Trek 2008 than Into Darkness, you know,
Hmm.
just because I just hope they don't remake the first Star Wars movie. That's my fear, you know,
Right.
that they'll remake the first movie. And I don't want to see another Death Star. I am Death Starred the fuck out. So help me God, I will walk out if it pans down. We got a Death Star, you know. I would walk out if I didn't know ahead of time. Like it wasn't in a trailer or something. They just pulled that one on you. You go in there, Death Star, like, fucking mother. Then I will walk out and demand a refund. So
Let's move on.
all right.
We both saw a clip for the new Days of Future Past X-Men that had Xavier talking to Magneto and explaining exactly how the fuck he is walking in this movie. And from what I took from it is his treatment for his spine took away his powers and has given him the ability to walk.
Yeah.
Is that about correct?
Yeah, they're just saying that he can walk now because he got spinal treatment and it took away his mutant. If it's built into your gene pool, I don't see how that makes any fucking sense, let alone with 1970s technology.
1970s spinal surgery.
Spinal surgery really would just be them correcting the spine or fusing something together. They wouldn't be severing anything, right? Like
Right.
we're assuming they would reawaken. If anything, they should have reawakened a Proteus-like character. It's
Yeah,
assuming that you just take everything, you know, and they
You're
pass
like,
out.
fuck it, he can walk again. Cool, he can wear, he can dance now. I had spinal surgery 8 months ago, I think,
Uh-huh.
and I'm still, I'm better, but I still feel residuals of it. I had, I got a big scar down my back. I had spinal surgery. He had spinal surgery. He's fine. Fuck it. Oh, I lost my telepathic powers, but hey, fuck it. It's ridiculous. I would have rather had anything like I would have rather him say, "Oh yeah, you didn't hit my spine. You actually hit like my kidneys. I just rocked the wheelchair for sympathy for like 2 months."
Hey, dude, he could have just forgot his fucking powers.
like
like
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, yeah, Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man 2 is one of the greatest, I'm told, superhero movies ever. It's fun. I don't want to call it great, but he forgets his powers, man. Forgets. I don't want to be Spider-Man. I don't have a giant razor sticking out my thumbs anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Who knows? When it comes to these X-Men movies, I just don't care anymore. Like I cared about Matthew Vaughn. I think I've said this 100 times. And with Bryan Singer, whatever.
Yeah.
So, yay. It's good to know. The reason why he can walk around is because they don't want to have him in a wheelchair all the time.
Right. It just makes it easier to move the story along.
Yeah.
Instead of, hey, let's get into the jet, and then there's a lift, and
They didn't want to accommodate his handicap.
yeah, that's probably what it is. As fucked up as it sounds.
What they wanted to do was get rid of the fact that he has the world. I blame Bryan Singer. Bryan Singer has said this. If you listen to the audio commentary on X-Men 2, he's like, the problem is Professor Xavier's too powerful. He can manipulate minds. So that's why in the beginning of X-Men 2, everyone stops and he can walk in and manipulate time. So in every movie, they got him getting knocked out. So,
Right. Kill him, dumb him down, something.
Right, so this time they took away his power. I'm like, just fucking kill him. You know what I mean? Send him off to the Shi'ar Empire for all I care.
They did kill him, and he ended up in a fat Scottish man's body, which they don't even touch on that shit.
Yeah, I forgot about when he ended up in someone else's body.
Yeah, with the Brett Ratner shit at the end of the damn movie.
In the future, he's clearly not
He's clearly not in that fat man's body. They don't even address it. They don't even...
I think he ended up in Hodor.
Oh, God. I know who that character is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just bad. It's like he's laying there, and he's got a beard and a gut, and he's just like, Well, this coma patient sure is well fed. I'll take his body. That's ridiculous. Oh, and spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't watched the trailer: Banshee is dead, and so is Emma. Or at least that's
All
what
the
Maggie.
characters we gave. See, now it's already ventured into the Alien 3 territory, where all the characters I like are dead, and I never even, now I can't even. It's hard. Like they just took all the love I had from the previous film and got rid of it, and now it's a Wolverine movie again. You know.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to. They've made a Wolverine movie. Bryan Singer's leading the camp. This is a movie that I'm probably just not gonna care about at the end of the day. Maybe not be horrifically bad like say Spider-Man 2, but it'll be in the X3 category of okay, whatever. Or the last two Wolverine movies, yeah. So, got anything else?
Yes. Let's go back up to the top here. What's your least favorite episode of your podcast?
My least favorite episode. I could take the cop out and go, the last one I did. What's your favorite? The last one I did. The current one I'm doing is my least favorite because it's never as good as the last one. My least favorite episode. I don't like the ones where I didn't have the headset and you can hear all the echo. In my room. It's a little annoying.
Right, you mean the ones before me, before it got super awesome. Oh,
The sound of one man laughing.
it's just a sad. I'm all out myself.
Now two are laughing.
I'm the only one in the ballpark doing the clap. No one
Just
cares.
breathing
No one joins
heavily. Yeah, like powdered toast, man. Your hero for one dude.
What is the future of the podcast, Rob?
What is the future of the podcast?
What do you have in store? What do you want to do?
I wrote that down because I don't know. I had figured, much like Griggs in, was it Grigg? I can't remember his name. Much like the lizard dude in The Last Starfighter says he'll have it all figured out by the time they get to the frontier. Well, we're at the frontier, and I don't know. The future of the podcast is tricky because the more I work on my own, the less troubles I have. There isn't much for me to complain about, other than to harp on myself.
I got plenty of troubles.
There's your troubles. I've had some recent troubles with the Skechcraft business that I'm squaring away that I can't get into because it's pointless. But I think it's tough because at some point when Hal Gazer was like, hey, with the don't feed thing, it could have took more time to do it. And I'm like, there's only so many problems artists have before they become the same problem over and over again. And so part of bringing someone on was because I find myself having a lot of the same problems.
Right.
And I don't believe one person can solve all of them. Like if I say don't do this or do that, that's irrelevant. You could do it and have the complete opposite effect. Be tremendously successful, be 20 times poorer for it, And I think that at the end of the day, the podcast, at some point, I'll probably stop doing it, for certain. I just don't know when, It's not coming anytime
I'm going to
soon.
say no to that.
At some point, I will stop the podcast. I don't know why, but I know someday I will. I don't know when. Dude, it could be 10 years from now,
Oh, that's fine.
So, it's not going to stop now at the 4-year mark, or episode 50 is also the last episode of
Goodbye,
Skechcraft.
everyone.
I did that once. That's been one of my top. I don't have top 5. I couldn't get that far. But I do have a few of my favorites. And one of my favorite was I put down, is this the end? And the header image literally was just a black. I did the black cover, like Spinal Tap. With, is this the end? Is it the end? That's what I put.
You should have had you walking away in an alley, and then your computer in the trash can, like Spider-Man, when every time he walks down that alley and he just throws his mask loosely on the trash can. He's like, "Is this the end of Spider-Man?" So
I put everyone has a breaking point. It's the best. Tune in and find out. Episode 24, I think.
Or maybe not. Question mark.
So obviously wasn't the end.
Clearly.
I'm going through a new phase right now, creatively in my life, and it's something that I'm at a bit of a conundrum about. and I could talk about this, is on one hand, I'm writing a story where I firmly believe strength in numbers, that teamwork is what gets the job done. I also have a habit of working with people who completely fail on me or for whatever reason, dude. It's not like an attack on me or nothing, but when I'm on my own, I can mitigate my own stuff, When I have help, things get out of out of control or out of my control for whatever reason. And I'm at a point where I'm like, well, if I'm saying, do I actually feel that teamwork is better? You know? And I think obviously it's true because not one man can make a movie. You have to have a team. Um, I believe this though. A team cannot collectively make a film when it's really ultimately for the benefit of one person. You know? Ultimately my art is for the benefit of me, right? Like if
Right.
I draw a picture of Venom, I get the credit, right? I make a book, I get the credit. Other people will not get the credit. That's the whole reason why I stopped doing things for people because I wasn't getting any goddamn credit. If I drew something, the colorist is a genius. If I did magazine layouts on the whole magazine, the guy who published it was the genius, who put it all
Right.
together. And it was getting frustrating for me. So the move that I've definitely made that I made this past year and am on is to just make the things I want to make in life, and to
Hmm.
not feel like I need anyone to come in and help, or because that's what society says you need. You know what I mean? Like you ever have someone tell you all the things they're supposed to say to you, but they don't actually believe it, or they're saying it because that's what you're supposed to say.
Right.
But like you should have this, you should have that. I'm like, yeah, well, I should have teams, except it's my art. I should just do it, or I should just handle this other stuff. That means you're not gonna get as much done. Well, then I'm not gonna get as much done. But fuck, man, like I'll handle it. And I just think that it's hard to entrust someone else with that. That's why, like, when I give you advice, I get frustrated if you don't follow through because I'm like, I'm not trying to lead you astray. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, I could easily see. I don't think you think that, but I could easily see how you could. Most people would just want to sit here and talk endlessly about helping. You should do this with your life. You should do that, and then I'm not doing anything. If I say I'm going to lose weight, fucking, I guarantee you, within 12 months, it's going to be extremely visible. Like it's not like, see, there's the 10 pounds. Look at that. If I say I'm gonna go do something, I can't control how long something takes at this point. Like I'm really learning scope creep, and how to effectively build projects from the ground up, which is another thing they don't fucking teach you in art school. Like build one of everything before you start. They just give you a deadline, and you're like, 11 weeks, we'll have this, and you don't have that. You have some vague semblance of that, and it's your portfolio, and you're fucked. You paid fucking 11 grand for it. Thank you. Come back, come again, keep doing it,
Right.
like so I'm learning about that, and I'll get more into ways to do that through the podcast. I think definitely with the future of the podcast, part of it's me talking about writing,
Right.
and I know that will bore some people, but I can't I can't just do what I think will entertain folks, I have to talk about the things that I'm struggling with. And I have no one else to talk to about, right? No one cares, by the way. You know, on the podcast, I figure, well, they tuned in for this, so they can turn it off, or skip ahead.
Right.
But my friends, they don't want to hear shit about, a character's external and internal, desires and the conflicts that are preventing them, and shit like that, and pinch points and plot points. They don't want to hear about that crap. They're like, they look at you like, huh, I don't get it. And this podcast too. So, and it'll be easier once things are out. Like I say, go check it out. Let me know what you think. So there's all that to deal with. But if anything else, you know, I think that the big lesson I've had to take away this past year is that uh, I have to seize ultimate control.
Hmm.
That there's no other way but for me to just systematically. And if that means, hey, I run a Power Prince, you know what I mean? Doesn't have a whole lot new in there. I don't care if it does $500 or $7 grand. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I'm just getting it. up and out because I want to get, some of this stuff out. I like putting art on people's walls. It's not the money, guys. Like if anyone's wondering, Rob, you did a Kickstarter to earn a lot of money. No, I don't earn a lot of money. I enjoy getting my art in the hands of people,
Right.
I'm not doing this shit for free, obviously, but I genuinely enjoy that process. I love picking stuff up from the printer and I enjoy putting it, signing 10,000 things is never fun or 1,000 of something, but I do enjoy it. That's what I always dreamed of doing. I don't enjoy hearing, Rob, is the hand a little too big, you think? Could you go back after it's all done and fix some shit? Or, Rob, just draw this My Little Pony thing because that'll keep you relevant?
Right.
I just only want to draw what I think is cool because everyone keeps putting me on. I mean, come on. I mean, how many times I got offered Kung Fu Panda, or fucking, generic comic
You
book.
know how many times I've been called Kung Fu Panda?
Huh? Well, you're gonna be called Dead Kung Fu Panda. You keep eating the way you do. Dead Fu Panda. So 7 feet under Panda. So welcome to Nah, that doesn't work. So I'm being mean. Um, I'm taking forever too. But it is a legitimate question I haven't had time to think about um, in the past couple of days, sad to say. I think my favorite episode of Sketchcraft, to make a long story short though, is the 25 things, I think is my favorite. 25 things they don't teach in art school. And that's probably been the most successful episode too, by the way,
Uh-huh.
in terms of just viral. I mean, I haven't checked. I can check now the last time that uh, whatever count it was on. And I'm not everyone knows I'm not a big cast. But I am told that if your podcast reaches about 250 downloads within a month, you've beaten 50% of every other podcast on the internet.
Hmm.
As crazy as that sounds. So I can get this actual download count on this. Yeah, I mean it's somewhere around 20,000 downloads or something, which is pretty good for me. I mean I usually get around 400. So, and it's shit I mean.
Right.
And people love to hear me complain about art schools, but yeah. I think that my least favorite, I've had to go back to it, would just be the Coffee Con Carnage episodes, but I didn't know what I was doing with this podcast. I just wanted to have something to do that wasn't art. So I just started talking about shit. And I don't know why I called it that was cleverness.
Right.
Cleverness never works. And Coffee Con Carnage, I don't even know what that means. I thought I would drink coffee and rage, and that, I don't know, man.
Red Bull Rage ranting.
Yeah, it wasn't a good. I mean, it didn't last that long, like 3 episodes maybe, before I went in and turned it to Sketchcraft. Oh, I can tell you definitely what the future of the podcast is, though. This I do know.
All
Is
right.
I've taken away the tutorials that I used to have up, taken those down. They've been up a long time. They've served their day. They don't get a lot of downloads. Some of the earlier ones do, but I think that was like a fluke.
Uh-huh.
And so I've taken them down, and I will be turning it into a digital only Kickstarter at some point called Digicraft, where for like $10 you can get like 5 or 10 of these things, 100 page or 50, somewhere between 25 and 100 pages, give or take, the project, per an image, and you get the audio podcast where I walk you through how I made it, and you'll get, the brushes I made, and then I'll have an option for a lot more money, like $75 or something. You could actually get the fully layered PSD with an audio file where I explain how I walk you through the whole file too. So you can actually get the high res PSD, and for obviously educational purposes, not for printing on your fucking cell phone covers. But you can get it, and actually tweak around it, see all the different parts.
Hmm.
I did run this stuff by you. Well, what did you think of any of that? Like,
Sounds good to me. I liked it. I mean, I like the way you set it up, and it's easy to follow, and I think people are going to really enjoy it because most people are just like, here's my finish, or here's my start, here's my finish, figure it out. But I mean, you actually step by step by step by step. I mean, a lot of steps.
it's something I think is worthy of getting paid for. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I keep saying they know what you mean, and like tonight, it's a tick. The
It's all
heat
good.
does weird. I'm also stressed out, so I'm coming off some stress. So Yeah, it's something that I think is worthy of being paid for. Now, I did change something. Is the PDF I sent you was set up in the sketchbook format, and
Mhm.
I didn't like the flickering around the edges. You know,
Okay.
the texture
Uh-huh.
around the edges. I just like when you hit back and forth, it's the same image. You know. So being that I'm not printing these are downloadable. I'm just gonna run with the custom cover. You know, and then the interior image in all of its steps versus trying to drop it on pages. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
fuck, I said it again. So it's a minor thing. Plus, it saves me a lot of time. But I just like when I hit forward or backward, you can actually flip between the two and it's seamless, you know?
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so that's something I'm working on. That won't be this month, maybe next month, actually. I might be able to have that all together next month. And so it'll be just something I do maybe once or twice a year, you know? Here's fucking 5 or 10 new things or a few new things plus some PSDs. And for the people that want to learn and actually say what does the file, you know, look like? What do these things look like? What paper texture you're using? I'm not flattening and like those paper textures, they're in there,
Yeah.
So it's worth the whatever. And it's shit I got lying around. I mean, I have saved steps on everything I've done, you know. So and I'll be doing a lot more digital art as I move along here with Game Cave and stuff. So I'll have plenty of like I'll have an X-Men picture. Yeah, I can have all the steps and stuff. So that'd be kind of cool. So anything else, Brandon?
Nope.
See if I have anything else. Killing Wolverine. Yeah, it's a sign of low sales. So he has Killing Wolverine, sign of low sales. Does anyone ever believe a hero is dead? No. You answered it. It's a sign of low sales, and no one believes it.
Spoiler alert. They're
Yeah.
killing Wolverine.
Well, it's kind of not a spoiler when the cover says the death of Wolverine on the cover. You know, that interesting. And then, does nostalgia live up to our adult expectations? That's really vague. That's deep. That's deep of you, Brandon. Does nostalgia live up to our adult expectations? Well, the cosmos is a vast, and the answer is I don't know. Only you can answer. Only you can prevent forest fires, Brandon. So, all right, Brandon. So go ahead and give me a plug. Where are you at on the internet? Where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram at leadheavy, Twitter at leadheavy, DeviantArt at leadheavyart, and Facebook at Brandon James Art.
Good times. As always, you can find me at Skechcraft. That's Rob at Skechcraft.com. Skechcraft, name of the podcast. And you get all the links at Facebook, DeviantArt, Instagram, Twitter, same old YouTube. Good times, good times. I will see you all in 2 weeks or so. All right? Bye.
Sketchcraft is recorded in front of a live internet audience and supported by listeners like you. Please be sure to leave a review on iTunes, like and share our Facebook page, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. All links can be found at Skechcraft.com. That's Skechcraft, C-R-A-F-T, the name of the podcast, .com. Remember, every little bit counts and it all helps to grow the show. Thanks.